Level 1, the first taste. You're in law school. 3 years of intensive study. You're working toward your Juris Doctor, your JD, your law degree. First year, 1L, the hardest year. Contracts, torts, civil procedure, constitutional law, property, criminal law. You read hundreds of pages every night, case after case. You brief cases, issue, rule, analysis, conclusion. The method, the Socratic method. Professors call on you randomly. You stand. You answer in front of 100 classmates. You're terrified. What if you don't know the answer? What if you're wrong? You prepare obsessively. You can't afford to look foolish. You study constantly. Library, coffee shops, home, everywhere. Outlines, flashcards, study groups, practice exams, finals. Everything depends on one exam, 1 3-hour exam per class, your entire grade, 1 test. The pressure is crushing. You survive first year. You're ranked top, third, middle, bottom. Your class rank determines everything. Internships, jobs, your future. Second year 2L, summer associate positions. You apply to law firms, big law corporate firms, the prestigious ones. You get an offer. Summer associate, big law firm, New York. 12 weeks. $2,500 a week. $30,000 for the summer. You work on real cases, research, memo writing, document review. You're evaluated on every assignment, every interaction. Everything matters. Third year, 3L. You've received a full-time offer. After graduation, after you pass the bar, you'll be an associate. You graduate Juris Doctor. You're not a lawyer yet. Not until you pass the bar. You're 25 years old. You have $150,000 in debt. You study for the bar exam. 2 months full-time, the hardest test you've ever taken. You take the bar. 2 days, multiple choice, essays, performance tests. 3 months later, results are posted. You passed. You're sworn in. You raise your right hand. You take the oath. You're a lawyer now, an attorney, a member of the bar. Your addiction is beginning. Level 2, the junior addict. Your first day. Big law firm, skyscraper in Manhattan. You're a first-year user. The bottom of the hierarchy. You're assigned to the corporate department, mergers and acquisitions. You work for suppliers, senior users. You do what they tell you. Your first assignment, due diligence. Review documents for an acquisition. Thousands of contracts. Looking for liabilities, red flags, issues. You're in a conference room. Documents everywhere. Spreadsheets, checklists. You use 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours every day. You log your intake every 6 minutes. 0.1 hours. You need to log 2,000 hours a year minimum to keep your supply. That's 40 logged hours a week, every week, all year. But you're using 60 hours, 70 hours. Non-log time doesn't count. You're making $190,000 a year. First-year salary sounds incredible until you consider the hours, the withdrawal, the toll. You use weekends, holidays, late nights, always. A supplier emails at 11 p.m. You respond immediately. A deal is closing. You use 36 hours straight. Coffee, Red Bull, adrenaline. You push through. You're learning the chemistry, the negotiations, the corporate structure of the high, but you're also exhausted, burned out, questioning everything. You have no life outside use, no hobbies, no relationships. The substance is everything. The substance demands everything. But you're paying off debt, building your resume, gaining tolerance. This is the trade. This is big addiction. Level 3, the mid-level user. 3 years in, you're a 4th-year user now. You've survived. Many of your classmates haven't. They've left, burned out. You're more independent now. You manage projects. You supervise junior users. You draft contracts. You attend negotiations. You're making $250,000 a year plus bonus. Your income increases every year. Lockstep compensation. Everyone at your level makes the same. You're working on bigger deals, 100 million acquisitions, billion-dollar transactions. You're part of the circuit. You take depositions. You draft motions. You appear in court. You're developing real skills, real expertise in chasing. But the hours haven't changed. Still 60, 70, 80 hours a week, still weekends, still holidays, still late nights. You're 30 years old. You look around. Your friends have lives. They're married, having kids. You're still in the using environment. You wonder, is this worth it? Can you sustain this? The next level of the high is still 5 years away. Can you make it? Some users leave, go in-house, corporate harm reduction programs. Better hours, better life, less intense high, but sanity. You stay. You're committed. You want the ultimate rush. You're willing to pay the price for now. Level 4, the senior user. 7 years in, you're a senior user. 8th year. The final promotion decisions are coming soon. Next year, the year after. You're running the deals now, client relationships, strategy. You're billing $3 million a year, a revenue generator. You're making $320,000 a year, plus large bonuses. But you're using harder than ever, proving yourself, competing. Not everyone makes it to the pure form. Most don't. Up or out. You either reach the peak or you detox. There's no middle. You develop your network. You find new sources. You bring in clients. The peak isn't just about tolerance. It's about supply development. You attend conferences, industry events. You schmooze, you sell yourself. You're not just a user. You're a rainmaker. You generate your own supply. The pressure is intense. The committee that decides your fate is watching. Every decision, every dose, every interaction. You work on a major transaction, a landmark deal, huge visibility. You lead the team. You manage everything. It goes perfectly. The client is thrilled. The senior users are impressed. You're positioned well for the final ascent. Level 5, the pure addict. Year 9. You're called into the managing partner's office. You've been selected. You're being promoted. Equity partner. You made it. Less than 10% of users reach this purity level. You survived. You succeeded. You're at the top. Your compensation changes. You're an owner now of your own destruction. You receive a draw plus profit sharing based on your performance. First year as pure addict, you make $600,000. Second year, $800,000. It keeps growing. But so do your responsibilities. You're responsible for supply development. You need to bring in new users, generate revenue, feed the machine. You're responsible for junior users, hiring, training, evaluating. You're building the next generation of users, managing talent. You're on committees, compensation, management, recruiting. You're running the entire ecosystem, not just using. You work with Fortune 500 companies, CEOs, general counsels. You're advising on billion-dollar decisions, mergers, acquisitions, strategy. You're respected, recognized in your field, chambers ranked. You speak at conferences. You publish articles. You're an expert, but you still use constantly. Pure addicts use as much as junior users, maybe more. The need never stops. The chase never ends. You're 40 years old. You've sacrificed everything for this. Relationships, health, time, but you've achieved the pinnacle of dependency. Level 6, the harm reduction professional. A different path. Some users go in-house. You're recruited, general counsel, Fortune 500 company. You're the top user for a major corporation. You oversee the entire usage department, 50 users, legal operations. You report to the CEO. You sit on the executive team. You're not just a user. You're a business leader in recovery. You handle everything. Litigation, contracts, compliance, regulatory, mergers, intellectual property, employment law, everything. You manage outside counsel, law firms. You're the client now. You decide which firms get work, how much they're paid. You make $450,000 a year plus bonus plus equity. Less than the pure addiction path, but much better control. You use 50 hours a week, maybe 60, but predictable. Weekends are yours, evenings are yours. You have a life. You attend board meetings. You advise on strategy. You're integrated into the business, not separate from it. You manage crises, regulatory investigations, lawsuits, problems. You protect the company. You manage risk. You solve problems. You're respected internally. The usage expert, the trusted advisor. The CEO calls you first before making major decisions about the substance. Level 7, the interventionist. Another path, public service, Department of Justice. You're an assistant United States attorney, federal prosecutor. You prosecute federal crimes, white-collar fraud, drug trafficking, corruption. You represent the United States government in federal court. You make $130,000 a year, government salary. Nothing compared to big law. But the work is meaningful. You try cases, real trials, not just document review. You're in court constantly, arguing, examining witnesses, presenting evidence. You work with FBI, IRS, federal agents. You investigate. You build cases. You prosecute the suppliers. You indict a corrupt politician. Bribery, fraud, public corruption. Months of investigation, grand jury, indictment. The trial. 2 weeks. High profile. Media coverage. You present your case. Evidence. Witnesses. Arguments. The jury deliberates. Guilty on all counts. You won. Justice served. You made a difference. This is why you became a lawyer. Not for money, for justice, for purpose, for making things right. You work reasonable hours, 50, 60 a week. You're not rich, but you're fulfilled. Your work matters. You are helping others break the cycle. Level 8, the overseer. 20 years as a user, prosecutor, private practice, varied experience. You're nominated federal district court judge. Article 3. The president nominates you. The Senate confirms you. Life tenure. You're a federal judge until you retire or die. You preside over federal court, criminal trials, civil cases. You rule on motions. You manage trials. You sentence defendants. You're making $220,000 a year. Judge salary. Less than you made as a partner, less than general counsel, but you have power, authority, respect. Addicts stand when you enter. All rise, the honorable judge presiding. You decide cases. You interpret the rules of addiction. You issue rulings. Your decisions set precedent. They matter. They endure. You sentence criminals, drug dealers, fraudsters, violent offenders. You decide their fate. Years in prison, decades sometimes. You preside over major trials, high-profile cases. You maintain order. You ensure justice. You uphold the law. You're appointed for life. You're independent, impartial. You serve justice, not politics, not money. Justice. This is the pinnacle of the legal profession. Federal judge. You've achieved what few addicts ever will, the power to judge the case itself. Level 9, the final arbiter of the high. The absolute pinnacle. 1 of 9. Supreme Court of the United States. The highest court in the land. The final word on what is allowed. You're nominated by the president, confirmed by the Senate, lifetime appointment. You'll serve until you choose to retire. You hear the most important cases. Constitutional law, federal law, cases that shape the nation, that define rights, that change history. You issue opinions. Majority, dissent, concurrence. Your words are studied, analyzed, cited for generations. You make $280,000 a year, justice's salary. Far less than big law. But compensation isn't the point. Legacy is the point. Impact is the point. Your decisions affect millions, shape the country, define an era. You're part of history. Your name in history books. Your opinions taught in law schools forever.